Was the destruction of the TVA the origin of He Who Remains? The episode number 4 of the second season of Loki was one full of surprises and answers to many of the theories that we had discussed in this channel, starting with the time cycle that we will talk about in detail. But what does this ending mean for the TVA? Could it be that this place was destroyed? Will Victor Timely be able to save the multiverse? In this video, we will be talking about the end of Loki's 4th episode and what it means for the beginning of Kang the Conqueror. And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. The story of this episode begins with a scene of Renslayer together with He Who Remains in the Void, where they both celebrate the victory of the multiversal war. They both won the war together, but He Who Remains activated a protocol with Miss Minutes, the 42nd protocol, the same one that erased Ravana's memories. He Who Remains stole all the credit from Ravana and sent her to work, while he sat back and watched what was going to happen. Miss Minutes proposed to her to work on her own, something that Renslayer accepted and quickly escalated to taking over the TVA completely and committing various crimes against her former colleagues. Renslayer became a villain in this episode, and this shows the reason why He Who Remains never gave Miss Minutes a body, as he knew she would eventually betray him. Victor Timely came to the TVA to help with the loom. After running scared through the corridors of this place, he was finally convinced to collaborate and met OB, the person who wrote the manual that inspired Victor Timely. OB mentioned that the TVA manual was made thanks to a scientist named Victor Timely, who helped him, thus creating a time cycle, where OB was the one who inspired Victor Timely, and Victor Timely inspired OB. A temporal cycle that we talked about in our last video, and that was confirmed in today's episode. Another important element about Victor Timely is that the loom recognized his aura as He Who Remains. If it was a variant of Kang, the machine would most likely not have been accessed. He Who Remains was not going to allow any variant to steal access. This confirms that Victor Timely is He Who Remains. In a future video, we will be explaining this timeline better. Victor and OB start working on the solution for the loom. Victor ran into the same problem on a small scale, but was able to collaborate with OB to create the solution. In an exciting scene in the episode, Loki remembered Thor and mentioned to Sylvie how being exiled helped him become a better person. At this point in Loki's life, he sees Thor as an example, and we no longer see traces of his crueler version. The fact that Loki has been referencing his brother for 2 consecutive episodes leads me to believe that it's only a matter of time before we see their reunion. The most interesting thing about Loki and Sylvie's conversation is that Loki mentioned to her he will help her protect the timelines after returning Timely to his timeline. I think this is the first time Loki takes the role that He Who Remains wishes for them. This confirms the theory we mentioned 2 weeks ago, where I said that Loki and Sylvie were going to help He Who Remains create the TVA. While most of the former TVA members lost their lives because of Renslayer and Brad Wolf, Renslayer kidnaps Timely, but also wants Victor to repair the TVA, as she only wants power in this place. As the TVA is being destroyed, we see how Loki begins to walk through the corridors and finds the version of himself we saw in the first episode opening the elevator. It is revealed here that it was Loki who pruned the past version of himself, and he tells Sylvie that this is all going to make sense. Loki tells her this as a kind of wink to the audience, since most people will think this doesn't make sense, except of course, those who saw the explanation of this cycle last week on this channel. While trying to reboot the TVA's security system, Miss Minutes begins to lose all her abilities, possibly even her memories. Then we see that Miss Minutes tries to warn Victor Timely about something, and tells him that he will never be He Who Remains. In a future video, we will talk about why Miss Minutes told him this, but it is possible that Miss Minutes thought that Victor Timely never lived up to the memory of that scientist who gave her life. Although of course, Victor Timely could be millions of years away from becoming He Who Remains, and obviously people change. Of course, this leaves the door open to think that Victor Timely is not He Who Remains. However, in our previous video we mentioned that for Victor Timely to create TVA, Miss Minutes, Sylvie, Renslayer and Loki had to lose their lives, and we already saw how Renslayer and Miss Minutes were erased from the picture, including the TVA. I think this opens the way for Victor Timely to create the TVA from scratch. Let's talk about what happens at the end of the episode. When Victor Timely goes outside to repair the loom, we see how he turns into spaghetti, and we see how the multiverse continues to expand, to the point that possibly the TVA was destroyed. However, we must analyze what really happened, and what the purpose of the loom was. The loom was built to organize and filter the timelines, utilize the energy of these realities, and maintain control in order to protect the sacred line. However, when the loom is destroyed, the realities will be created out of control. This means that it is not that the realities were destroyed at the end of the episode. The machine that contained them was destroyed. Now all realities coexist, and the threat could come from anywhere. However, seeing this ending, I don't think it's a coincidence that Timely turned into spaghetti, while the realities separated. I think it is possible that Timely split into many realities, creating variants of himself. Maybe Victor is the original Kang because at this moment when the loom was destroyed, he created echoes of this character in the past, present and future of the realities that were forming. Perhaps we saw the true origin of Kang, and it all starts with Loki, Sylvie, Renslayer, and Victor Timely. As evidence that Victor Timely is still alive, we can see a scene from the Doctor Strange movie, where he travels through multiple realities. We can see here that he also turns into a spaghetti, but then recovers his body. So not only is this evidence that Timely is alive, but that he is possibly traveling between realities. But what happened to Loki, Sylvie, and OB? If the TVA was destroyed and the pruned realities are now back, this means that all the realities where each of the TVA members come from are back, and it is possible that Loki, Sylvie, and Mobius are back in their timelines. Perhaps the TVA has a security system that expels the inhabitants of this place to the original timelines. It is possible that the next episode will begin with them in their own realities, but then they will unite to search for Victor Timely, as they must help him create the TVA to prune and control the multiverse. The multi-dimensional war is a time cycle that I think we've seen the end of. But tell me, what are your thoughts? Could it be that all this that is happening is part of a temporal cycle? What did you think about this episode? And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.